Okay, today we'll see experiment number 8, which is based on IP addressing. So in this experiment you are going to like already we have completed IP addressing concept in the class. So you on the journal pages what should be answers that you are going to write, that questions I have given in the this particular experiment. So 2 to 3 theoretical questions has been given, and some problem statements are given to you. So you need to solve these questions on the journal pages. Okay, so all this is about the classless and classful IP addressing, and also 1 or 2 questions based on subnetting. Now in the lab what you are going to do is, actually you are going to perform 2 tasks in the lab. The first, you are going to implement a C program. Okay, so this program will take one input, that is an IP address. So based on given IP address, you need to determine what is a class of that address, what is network and host ID of the given IP address. Then find the first and last address of the block in which that address belongs to. So this thing that you are going to determine with the help of C program. Okay, so input is only an IP address given, and from that the class, network ID, host ID, first address of the block, last address of the block you are going to print. And as a second task I have mentioned here, you are going to perform one virtual lab. So perform one virtual lab. The link of the virtual lab I have already given here. So in this virtual lab there are 3 components, that is pre-test, this is an MCQ test, then a simulation and the post test. So these 3 things that you are going to perform in the virtual lab. So both of these things, that C program and virtual lab, how to do that I'll explain to you. So let's I'll just start with the virtual lab. So copy this link of virtual lab in your browser. I have already it is there. So this is a fundamental of computer networks. It's a virtual lab by IIT Bombay, and this is lab for IPv4 addressing. So once you click on this, so this is an experiment. Either you can write the aim and objective from here also, no problem. So they have given what is the aim of this experiment, then what is the theory behind that. Okay, you can also read this particular or go through this particular theory. Already we have learned all this concept of classes and all in our theory part. So go through this theory part. Then see, there is a pre-test, there is a simulation, and there is a post-test. So open this pre-test first. Okay, before that you just go through the theory part and open the pre-test. In pre-test, few MCQ type of questions, 2 or 3 MCQ type of questions has been given. So you need to answer this, okay, and give the answer and say evaluate. So it will give you the result, how many questions are wrong and how many are correct. Okay, so this is all about pre-test. Then after that you will go for the simulation. Okay, there is a procedure also. You read this procedure. There is the steps has been already given over here, and then after this reading this procedure, go for the simulation. So in this simulation you can click here for simulation of IPv4 addressing. This window you will get. Okay, yeah, so I just yeah, so you just zoom in out, because this particular blocks are coming down. So zoom in out. Here what you are going to give is, choose the class in which the IP addresses that addressing is to be done. So if I select a class B, class A, or whatever, class C, then select any one and say submit. You can go for all 3, class A, B, C, say submit. Okay, so once you select the class and say submit, it will give you one network ID. Okay, it is not an specific IP address of a machine, but it is a network address. So all of you know that network address is nothing but it is the first address in the block, which is reserved for the network ID as a network ID. So as it is belongs to class B, and all of you know the range of class B is 128 to 191. 128 to 191 is the range. So you will get this particular address from class B, and this is a net ID, network ID. Okay, and if you remember, for class B the first 2 bytes are reserved for the net ID. So 134.35.0.0, this is your network ID, in which you can clearly see that the first 2 bytes are representing your net ID. Okay, so this is network ID. Now what is the task that you have to do? 3 PC has been given to you. So you need to allocate an IP address to each of this machine based on the network ID. So remember that the network ID remains constant for all the PCs. Only host ID is going to be changed. Okay, and all of you know the range also. IP address values are in the ranging of 0 to 255. Okay, so let me give one of the address like 134, 35, 78 and 90, and also you need to give the mask. If you remember the mask for class B, it is 255.255.0.0. Okay, so I have cleared with PC1. I have given one of the address which is belongs to this network, okay, class B network, and this is a mask, default mask of class B. Similarly, you can allocate the IP address for the machine 2. So give the tab to allocate, yes, and then give the mask 255.255.0.0. If I give something wrong here, let me give one example. Let me assign one IP address which is wrong, which not belongs to this network. So for example, if I say 134.67.89.67 or whatever it may be, I'll just change here. It is 110, and the mask is 255.255.0.0. Now you can clearly see that the ID of the network is 134.35, but here I have given wrong 134.67. So definitely this PC is not belongs to this network. Okay, so evaluate your test after you are giving IP address to each of the PC and subnet mask to each of the PC. Click on evaluate, then you can clearly see the result that PC1 is there in the network, PC2 is also there in the network because we have given correct net ID here 134.35. okay, and then host ID you can give anything, but it should be in the range of 0 to 255. okay, similarly for PC2 I have given correct, but PC3 I have given wrong, so that it is saying that PC3 is not in the network. So same task you can do it for remaining classes also. And see, when I double select it and if I say submit, I'll get a different ID from class B. Okay, I'll get a different ID. Similarly, you can do for class C as well. If I say submit, I'll get one of the network address from class C, and from this network block, I need to assign the IP address to the PCs. Okay, and then you can going to evaluate your test. So it will clearly give you idea like what is the class A, class B, class C, in which range it is belongs to, how many bytes are used for representing the net ID, and how many bytes are you representing the host ID. And similarly, you will get an clear idea that what will be the subnet mask for each of the class. Okay, so this 3 tasks. Okay, this is simulation. So I'll just close it. The simulation you need to perform. Okay, and after performing simulation, there will be again post test. So you have to give this post test. So there are 5 questions in the post test. So give the answer of each of this question, and then you can say evaluate. So it will give you the whether you are correct or wrong, that summary you will get. Okay, I hope you understand what task that you are going to do in the virtual lab, pre-test, then simulation and the post test. So follow this particular link and do the procedure. So I'll just close this now. Now we'll go to the first task of our lab, and see once you do that simulation, you can take one snap, okay, or a snap of your pre-test post-test result and put it in a Word file, and that Word file you need to upload as a submission. Okay, I'm talking about virtual lab output of pre-test, of simulation and of post-test. So both of these 3 outputs, So this is an examination, basically pre-test and post-test. This is an examination. So you can take a print screen and copy it into the Word file, and then the simulation also you can do the print screen of your evaluation and copy it in Word file, and then upload that particular Word file on the Moodle as a part of submission for task 2 for a virtual lab. Okay. Now let me go for the C program. What you are going to do here. So here input given is, you are going to write one C program where input given is IP address. Okay, that IP address may be belongs to class A, class B, class C or class D, it may be anything. But from that given IP address, you are going to determine what is a class. So I hope that all of you know the range. Class A is having range 0 to 127, class B is from 128 to 191 and so on. You can refer the table from PPTs or from the books. Okay, so you can determine the class, determine the net and host ID, and also determine the first and last address of the block. Okay, so let me delete this first and just I'll show you how to do the C program. So I have done here. Okay, so let's start with the main function. Okay, so here you can take basically you are going to take an IP address, so probably take it as a string, very important thing, you can scan the IP address at the time of execution, don't allocate it as a statically. See, I have removed this, I put it in a comment. So take one character array, so that means you are going to read one string. Okay, that may be your IP address. For example, if I say 192.67.89. Suppose 120, this is my IP address that I am going to scan. So here I have used getS function to scan the string. Okay, so take any one of the IP address. Remember that this is a string that you are going to scan. So this is the 0th location of the string. This is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and so on. Okay, this is the index basically. 1 is at 0th index, 9 is at 1st index, 2 is at 2nd index, likewise. So scan this particular IP address. After that, either you can write down the procedure of finding the classes and all. Here in main itself, I have written one function. Okay, that is find class, and to this find class I have passed the that particular entered IP address. Okay, and that function is returning me in which class it belongs to. That simply you are going to print here. So print that particular class. So it may be output of find class function may be either A, B, C, whatever. So print that particular output here, that given IP address belongs to the class. Okay, that is %C, because my output of this find class function is either A, either B, either C, depends on my IP address. Okay, so print that here. So let's see what you are going to do in find class function. So definitely that, suppose I'll explain the procedure here itself. Suppose if I enter the address 192.45.67.23, suppose this is my address that I have entered. So all of you know that 192, it belongs to class C, because the class C is having range 192 to 223. So suppose if I enter this particular IP address, so this IP address is passed to the function. So let's see what is a function. So write this function yourself own. Okay, so this is a function. The code is very simple. So first, let me paste that address whichever I have taken. So this is an address that I have taken. Okay, now what you are going to do is that you have to separate. So this particular code has been written to separate the IP address. Okay, so as all of you know that there is a dotted decimal notation. So you need to separate that particular the first, like this first part. Like if you see this first part, you can easily identify in which class it belongs to. So I need to scan. Okay, I'll need to just see this particular string. Okay, and I need to copy this particular first part of this given string into another array. So here what is get copied? Until and unless I cannot find the first dot, okay, from that string. So our string is 192.45.67.23. so until that particular string can reach to one dot, okay, so that is 192.45.67.23. this is our string. So you can start reading the string from zeroth location, 0, 1, 2, like that, and as soon as it reaches to dot, you are going to stop, because this part you need to separate, the first part you need to separate, okay. So based on that you will get the value of I. So in our case, what is the value of I index, where you will get a dot, that is nothing but, so 1 is at 0th location, 9 is at first location, and 2 is at second location. So at fourth location there will be dot. So you know the value of I is 3 now, okay. So first 3 positions will give the first value. First 3 position means what? 1 is at 0th position, 9 is at first position, and 2 is at the second position of the string, and after that there will be dot, okay. So here we know that the value of this I becomes 3, okay, I becomes 3, because at fourth location of I there will be a dot. So I need to find out what is the value of I here. I means I am saying index, okay, it is an index position of an array, okay, up to you are getting the first value. So this is 0, 1 and 2, 0, 1 and 2. So see, in this loop you will get the value of I as 3, but you need to minus it out because it is 0, 1, 2. So index will be get minus, okay. So 0, 1 and 2, okay. So here you will get the value of I as an index. Now what you need to do is that from that string, okay, now here as it is 192 value, like we have scanned it as a string, so it is not 192, it is 1, 9 and 2, it is 1, 9 and 2. So what you need to do is that I need to convert this 1, 9 and 2 as into a value 192, okay. And up to what I have to go, my value of I, इथे तुमचा I किती आता आपल्याला मिळाला, इंडेक्स किती मिळाला तर 2 मिळालाय. So I need to scan again the string from 0th location up to 2 location, okay, 0 to 2, and that value is 0th is there is 1, first location there is 9, and second location there is 2. So it is a separate, you can say, number. 1 is separate, 9 is separate, 2 is separate, because we have scanned the string as a we have scanned the IP address as a string. So after that I need to convert this 1, 9 and 2, which is separate right now, as a 192. So for that, okay, so there is simply logic has been used here. So if you see that the value of this formula you can use, so it is very similar, like maybe you can use in finding reverse of the number or something like that. So here the value of IP is initially 0, so it is recalculated, IP is recalculated as initial value of this IP is 0, so 0 plus, okay, string of I minus 0. So right now our value of I will be 2, value of I that we have already calculated here in this loop, value of I is 2, okay. म्हणजे सेकंड लोकेशन पर्यंत आपल्याला फर्स्ट पार्ट मिळतोय त्यातला, सेकंड लोकेशन पर्यंत. सो व्हॅल्यू ऑफ I is 2, ओके, अँड अंटिल इट विल ग्रेटर दॅन 0, म्हणजे मायनस मायनस करत यायचं आहे आपल्याला, अँड अंटिल इट इज greater than 0, what task you need to do is that, str of I minus 0. So what is str of I minus 0? It is str of 2 minus 0. So str of 2 is nothing but 2. str of 2 is nothing but 2. So this is 0th, first, and 0, 1 and 2. So it is str of 2, I can write here, str of 2 minus 0, okay, minus 0 multiplied by j. The value of j is also initially it is taken as 1. So if you replace this str of 2 value is 2 here, 2. So the formula becomes 0 plus 2 minus 0, which is again 2 multiplied by 1. So answer here is 2. Answer here is 2. Getting? Answer here is 2. Then the value of j will be multiplied by 10. Value of j multiplied by 10. So value of j is initially 1. Now the j becomes 10. J becomes 10. Now let's see, again I will be get minus. I will be get minus. Our initial value of I is 2. Now I becomes 1. So I can write down here. I becomes 1. Okay. Now this loop will again get continue. Now again see, we are going to find the IP by using previous IP. Our previous IP came as a 2. Previous IP आता आपला 2 आला होता. So you can say 2 plus str of 2 plus str of I means value of I is now 1 minus 0 multiplied by 10, because value of j is 10 now. So it is 2 plus str of 1. What is the str of 2? Str of 1. So if you look at here as a first digit, str of 1 is nothing but it's a 9. It is a 9. So say here I can replace this as a 9. So it is 9 minus 0 multiplied by 10. So 9 minus 0 is obviously 9 multiplied by 10 is obviously 90. And the answer here is 92. Answer here is, sorry, multiplied by 10. This value comes as a 92. See, previously it was 9 separate, 2 separate. Now we have made it as a 92. Now again the value of j goes on increasing. Like means we are going to change the place values. Hope you know that place value of each digit. So in case of 192, the place value of 2 is 2. It is at unit place. 9 is at 10 place and 1 is at 100 place. Okay. And then I becomes 2 here. Yeah. I becomes 2. Sorry, I becomes 0. Not 2 because we are decreasing. I becomes 0. So it is greater than equals to 0. Fine. Then again the IP is calculated. So previous IP is 92 plus str of I. Str of I means str of 0 minus 0. Str of 0 minus 0. Okay. Multiplied by j. The value of j is 100. And if you see str of 0, I go here and tell you what is str of 0. It is 1. Str of 0 is 1. So I can replace this str of 0 here as 1 minus 0. Again it is 1 multiplied by 100. It becomes 100 now. Okay, it becomes 100. So answer here is 192. So now it becomes 192 as a whole number. So this is a procedure. Basically to convert our string, which is 1 as a separate, 9 as a separate and 2 as a separate, to a number 192. I hope you understand. This is the first word from that dotted decimal notation. The first byte we have identified. First byte आपण कसा आयडेंटिफाय केला तर जोपर्यंत आपल्याला डॉट भेटत नाहीये तोपर्यंतची सगळे स्ट्रिंग आपण किंवा जास्त इथे नाही कॉपी केली तरी चालेल. इफ आय just do I++, then I get the point. Okay, I'll get the index. हा इंडेक्स मिळेल. हा कुठपर्यंतचा इंडेक्स आहे. सो दिस इज 1 0 1 and 2. सो 2 पर्यंत आपल्याला जायचं आहे. इंडेक्स 2 पर्यंत जायचं आहे. 2 नंतर डॉट येणार आहे. सो देअर वी नीड टू स्टॉप. ओके, सो हिअर विल गेट द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ I. Okay, which will give you the first byte of your index of the first byte of your IP address. Okay, but as it is a string, you need to convert that string into a number. So as a string means this is at 0th location, this is as first and this is at second location. This is 3 different numbers, 1, 9 and 2, that we are going to convert as 192. Okay, and this is a procedure for that. This particular while loop is doing that particular procedure. Okay, let me remove all this part because we are going ahead. Yeah, let me delete this part. Yes. Okay, hope you understand the procedure. So first thing, I need to identify the first byte of my IP address. ओके, आय नीड टू गो फॉर फर्स्ट डॉट. जोपर्यंत पहिला डॉट येत नाही तोपर्यंत आपल्याला पुढे जायचं आहे. सो इट इज 192 डॉट that particular thing. Yeah, so once I get 192 as my number, then you can put here the, either you can put the you can say like here simple if has been kept. So what is the range of class A? If that IP value, right now in our case our IP value is 192. Our IP value, I have told you that it comes as a 192. So now you can put a different simple if loop to check the range. So if it is belongs to 1 to 126, I think it is 127. Yeah, less than equals to 127. So it may be, I think, 0 to 127. So greater than equals to 0 up to 127. If this is, then it belongs to class A. So here what you need to do is that print the default mask, and all of you know that the default mask for class A is 2550.0.0. So simply print this mask and return A. So where this A will get returned to the main function. This A is get returned to the main function. Similarly for class B, okay, we don't know what is our value of IP. It may be belongs to in any one of this range. So here nested if loop is ladder has been used. So here if that IP range is from 128 to 191, then it is belongs to class B. And all of you know what is a mask for class B. Just print the default mask for given IP address is 255.255.0.0 and then return B to the main function. Otherwise you need to check is it belongs to class C. Okay, so the class C range is 192 up to 223. So if it is, then return that default or print the default mask as 255.255.255.0 and return the variable C, return the value, character value C back to the main. Okay, similarly you can do it for class D and E as well. So all of you know the range of class D is 224 to 239. So if it is there, then as all of you know that there will be no masking concept in class D, you can simply print that the given IP addresses belongs to multicast category and return the character D to the main function. And similarly for class E, it is used for the reserved purpose. So make print that the IP address is from reserved category and the class is E. Return this class character back to the main function. Okay. So this particular, either we are going to return A, B, C, D or E, that will be get returned to your main function. That will be get returned to your main function. So let me go to the main function and show you where it will be get returned. So here whatever you are returning, it will be get captured in IP class variable. So that has to be simply printed here that the given IP address belongs to class whatever, which is get returned back from find class function. Okay. So first thing what we have did is we have identified the first byte, okay, until we reach to dot. Then we have converted as it is a string, we have converted it into a number. Okay. Then we kept it in a ladder to identify in which class it belongs to, and in that particular loop we have printed the default mask, and the next the IP class has been get printed. Okay. After this our next task is to find what is the net ID, what is host ID, what is the first address of the block and what is the second address of the block. So for that I have used here the function separate. I call the function separate, okay, with that input. So what is our input here? 192.45.67.23. this is my input IP address. So that input address and the class which is written by the find class function. So these two value we are going to pass to the separate function, or you can write, or you can put only one function and you can do all the tasks there also, no problem. एक function घेऊन त्याच्यामध्ये सगळं task केलं तरी चालेल. Okay. So here just go to that particular separate function and let's see what we want to do there in separate function. So in separate function I am going to receive the IP address, original IP address and its class from the main. Okay. Now here our task is to identify the net ID, host ID, first address and the last address of the block. So here Initially we have taken as net id and host id also we are printing it as a string, so take it as a character array. Then if the IP class is class A, if IP class is class A, म्हणजे आपल्याला स्ट्रिंग बरोबर किंवा IP ॲड्रेस बरोबर त्याचा क्लास पण आला इकडे. सो इफ इट इज बिलॉंग्स टू क्लास A, if it is belongs to class A, then how many values, okay, like for example our IP address is 1, I just copy it from bottom, it is there on the bottom, yeah, here I'll just make it as a copy paste, or I'll cut here and take it at the top so that I can make a discussion with you. Yeah, so this is our IP address basically that I have entered initially. Fine. So if it is belongs to class A, then there will be some procedure. So here you need to find out if there is if the IP address is from class A. Let me write any IP address from class A. Suppose it is like this, 90 suppose. Now it is belongs to class A, and if you remember in class A the net ID is only first byte. Okay, net ID is only first byte. That means I need to copy the first byte. म्हणजे मला पहिला डॉट येईपर्यंत I need to copy it in one another string, that is network array, network string. So all of you know that we have taken here two string, network string and host string. So network string will give the network ID and host string will give the host ID. So if it is belongs to class A, then you have to copy the first byte into network string and remaining bytes into host string. Okay, पहिला डॉट मिळेपर्यंत ची जी व्हॅल्यू आहे that you can copy in a network string, and remaining all up to the /0, because this is also a string, so up to /0 you can copy it into host string. Okay, so for that you need to mention that, okay, in class A. Okay, so you simply copy. So this is our string basically, this is our string, original string. This is our network string which is right now blank suppose, and this is our host string which is also right now blank. Let me go here, yeah, the host string which is also blank. So if this class belongs to A class, then what you have to do is that simply copy that particular string content into network variable, sorry, network string. So copy str string into network string until you will get first dot, okay, and copy the remaining into host one. So here copy remaining means what? Copy remaining until you reach to /0, end of the string. Okay, म्हणजे इथून पुढे. So 67 is copied into here. If I consider this as an IP address, okay, of class A, so 67 is get copied into network string. Sorry, 67 is copied into network string, and host string मध्ये काय कॉपी होणार आहे? 89.23.90, जे ह्या स्ट्रिंगच्या एंड पर्यंत. So how you are going to come to the end of the string? It is /0 will be there at the end of the string. So until you cannot reach to the /0, okay, copy that str content, remaining str content into host ID. Okay, and then you print network ID, host ID, and the first and last address of the block. So all of you remember here, the first address of the block is always the network address followed by number of 0 depends on the host ID. For example, here 67.89.23.90. So here 67 is our net ID, remaining 3 zeros are there. So this will be the first address of your block. This is your first address of your block. So see here, 3 zeros I have already written here. So %s is nothing but your network ID which is printed here, followed by dot, okay, 000. And what will be the last address in this case? The last address in this case is 67 as it is. So see, print the network address as it is. If you look at here, %s, okay, print the network address as it is, followed by 3 255s, okay, followed by 3 255s. So 255.255.255, and all of you know that this is the last address of the block, and both of these are the special categories of IP address. We have seen in the lecture special category of IP address. So this is your first address of the block, and this is the last address of the block, that is basically a limited broadcasting address. If you see the special category, it is called as a limited broadcasting address. So the first address and last address of the block is never used, because the first address itself represents the network address and the last address itself represents the limited broadcasting address. Okay, so I'll just remove this part. Okay, then if you go down, similarly if the class is B class, so let me take any example of B class. So suppose it is 129.89.34.57 suppose. So in B class, what is your network ID? म्हणजे ही तुमची string आहे, suppose this is your string. Suppose I can go here. So this is your string str. You need to find out what is the net and what is the host ID. So B class मध्ये असल्यामुळे आपल्याला किती डॉट्स पुढे जायचे? 2 डॉट्स पुढे जायचे. ओके, सो यू कॅन सी हियर इनिशियली द डॉट काउंट इज 0 and you need to continue until your dot count is less than 2. Okay, so it is 0 and 1. So 2 means 0 and 1. Yeah, it is you are going to check whether dot count is less than 0. And that many content from string you are going to copy in the network variable. So see, this is 0th dot, this is the first dot. So copy this 2 content here. String मधला तेवढा पार्ट तुम्हाला इथे कॉपी करायचा आहे. 192.89. This is your host network ID. And what is your host ID? The remaining content of the string. Remaining means which? From 34 onward up to /0. So this remaining content you can copy it into the host, that is 34.57. So your net ID is 129.89. This is your net ID, and your host ID is 34.57. This is your host ID. Getting? Now once you identify this network and host, here you are going to find out network. In this loop you are going to find network, and here you are going to find the host. Okay, राहिलेले string मधले host मध्ये कॉपी केले. ठीक आहे, then you print network, host, first address and last address. So how you are going to print the first address? The first address, see in class B obviously the first 2 bytes are the first there. So remaining 2 you have to give the 0. म्हणजे आता आपल्या एक्झाम्पल मध्ये किती आला आपला नेट आयडी? Let me go here. So our network address comes as, let me cut here and copy below. Yeah, I'll copy here so that you understand. Yes, paste. Yes, so see, the network address is followed by 2 zeros, 2 dots. So here give the 2 dots and 2 zeros. And host ID, sorry, last address, this is the first address basically. Okay, that is the first address, and the last address is nothing but it is network followed by 2 times 255. So network address is 129.89.255.255. So see here, both the strings has been printed here. Okay, so it will print the net ID and host ID. So I will delete this part. Okay, and I'll not continue with the same procedure will be there for class C and class C. So for class C you can initially make the dot count as 0. किती number of dots पुढे जायचं आहे तर 0 1 2 म्हणजे total 3 जायचं आहे आपल्याला. Okay, so that many content of the string is copied into network, and remaining content of the string is copied into host. Okay, so initially जोपर्यंत 3 डॉट मिळत नाही आहेत तोपर्यंत सगळे कंटेंट स्ट्रिंग मधले नेटवर्क मध्ये कॉपी होतील, राहिलेले कंटेंट एंड ऑफ द स्ट्रिंग येईपर्यंत होस्ट मध्ये कॉपी होतील. ठीक आहे, then you print the network ID, host ID, first address and last address. but इथं तुमचे फर्स्ट ॲड्रेस ऑब्वियसली 3 बाईटचा असणार आहे, त्यामुळे त्याच्या पुढे एकच 0 लिहावं लागेल. अँड हिअर नेटवर्क ॲड्रेस 3 बाईटचा असल्यामुळे 255 एकदाच लिहावं लागेल इकडे. सो दिस विल बी युअर complete program. So let me run this code. Yeah, I think I have written many places some things. Just I remove it. Yeah. Yes. Just 2 minutes. I'll just remove this part. Yeah, I think there is something still remaining at the end. Yeah. Yeah. See, now it is asking for to enter any IP address in dotted decimal notation. So let me give any IP address from class A. So what is an address? What is an output here? So it will tell me that it is from class A. The network address is 67. The host address is 89.34.54 is a host address. The first address is 67.0.0.0 and the last address is 67.255.255.255. Just hit enter. See, you can get the output. Default mask is 255000. Given IP address belongs to class A. The network ID is only 67. Host ID is remaining 3 bytes is 89, 34 and 56. The first address of the block is 67.0.0.0 which itself is a special address, that is a network address, and the last address of the block is 67.255.255.255 which is the last address itself. It belongs to the special category of limited broadcasting. Okay, let me run this code again and I'll give one example of class C as well. Suppose class C, I can take 198.34.78.12. okay, so it says that the default mask is 255.255.255.0 belongs to class C. Okay, the network ID is first 3 bytes, so it is 198.34.78 is your network ID. Host ID is only 12. The first address is 198.34.78.0 is your first address and the last address is 198.34.78.225. okay, this is your last address. So hope you understand this particular program and complete this particular program. So as I told you in the lab experiment, you need to complete the C program which will identify all these parts, and also you have to go for the virtual lab concept. So let me stop here.